Hello. Wait, there we go. No, louder. Hi. Um, my name's Devin, Lafontaine, and it's my turn to tell you guys what we do. Um, um, I'm an environment artist on PlanetSide 2. What I'll be showing you is a little bit of Hossin and the new stuff we're building on it, and kind of the ways the art team pretties it up. Later in future broadcasts, we might show you ways that we take the area that the designers have worked on and clean those up. But for now, it's mostly, fun little stuff in between the bases. And we'll be going through and showing you what new things we have in Hossin, little changes we made maybe since the last time you guys saw it on test server. And, oh, hello. There, I'm getting used to reading this off screen. Hello, Artecos. I've been working at Sony, 7 years almost. I've worked on Star Wars Galaxies, Free Realms. It's pretty fun because this tool that we've been using, we've been pushing through a lot of projects, so it's nice to have it. I've been using it for a while, so it's pretty fun to use. So let me see which button it is here. Well, before I switch over, I'm gonna check to make sure. It's still, well, it should be good enough. There we go. Oh, also, do you guys like my green shirt, which makes me invisible? See? I had to put on a jacket so that no one could see my floating head, which was a great newbie mistake. And so, here's where we are starting Hossin, so I'm going to go find a spot. One of the things we want to add in Hossin is a sense. I'm going to glance over here. Environment artist, building stuff. Well, glowing potato, I do both of those. Most of the assets you've seen here were built in Maya and Photoshop and ZBrush and all the kind of traditional 3D art tools you'd hear about in game development. And the other half of it is our in-house tool where we kind of assemble everything. So the same way you saw Alex, last week, putting bases together, we use the same tool to put trees and stuff everywhere and make it fancy and whatever. So it's a little bit of both. Lately, it's a little more terrain editor because the game's been live for a while, so we don't have a lot of room to make tons and tons of new assets because then you guys have to download 800 megabytes of stuff every week, and no one likes that. It's expensive for you, it's expensive for us, it takes a lot of time, so we've had this big pool of Hossin stuff for a while, so we're really anxious to get that a shout out to you guys. So anyway, let's go. So you can see, yeah, you guys can. I'm trying to point. You guys can't see my fingers. Okay, so we have whatever these spots over here. So we're gonna go check these out and see what's there. As far as I remember, no one's really been in this area before. So this is kind of like the basic. I'm trying to. Oh, people are coming in to heckle me. Just trying to get set up with how I like to work at my desk. So bear with me a little bit. Do you play the game a lot? Do you work with Arclegger? Bluefire asked that. Yes, I work with Arclegger. He sits diagonally from me. He's a fine gentleman to work with. And I've worked with him on Free Roams before. So unfortunately he's at Disneyland or something today. So he couldn't come in here to heckle me on your guys' behalf. And I play the game a fair amount. Usually not super seriously. I tend to just pop in and play a medic, because honestly, I'm pretty bad at it. So I just kind of hop in and run around and heal people and try to have fun and contribute what I can. So here's our little zone of Hossin. So this blue square that you can kind of make out the corners of. This is the spot I'm going to work in first. It's nice for me to work in single chunks. I can kind of concentrate in one spot. So you can see this has been decorated a little bit. I guess in this broadcast we'll be going over a little bit about the nuts and bolts of the back end of our system. So just to so you understand what you're seeing. And so what you see here are these little green boxes. This is a new technology that we started using on Amrish No, actually we did it when we started on Hossin, but the first time you guys started seeing it on Amherst was... so this box represents all these objects all kind of collected together. So we spend a lot of time making these, we call them groups, pretty obvious name. And then we spend a lot of time making these look nice, so then I can place a lot of these quickly. So all that time spent working on this guy gets multiplied, 30, 50 times as I place them everywhere. So as you can see, there are a lot of these little groups everywhere, which makes it go a lot quicker building all of Hossin. It would have been nice if we had thought of this on the other continents. We might have made them a little quicker, made them look a little nicer in general. So what we've added on Hossin is, well, recently when we went back to look at it, we decided that it would be nice if there were areas that had more regional flair to them. So the way we settled on doing that was to create some objects or retrofit some objects we had, so they were a little more unique to the area. So let's say someone took a screenshot of the area you're fighting in. You as a player, what I would like to be able to say is you as a player would know roughly where that is. Like, oh, that's got the orange things. That means you're near that base or whatever. So what we'll be doing a lot of today is placing those new objects we made. So I got these little dudes here. I'll show you them after we place them. So what I do as an environment artist, and a lot of the other artists on the team, we kind of take a look at this area. I apologize if I'm flying a little warp speed for you guys. I don't want you to get sick. I'm going to glance over at this thing. Not much. Who's Moobot? What happened to him? I don't know who that is. Okay, so I look at this area and I'd said, oh, this needs some interest, like this spot here. There's not much going on here. So I'm going to plop some of these dudes down just to create. And what I want, when we made these, we thought about these should feel, only near the water. So we like to place them near the kind of the shoreline of the swamp. And, we want to create, when you're at player level like this, want to create something interesting to see so that, the game looks as good as it can. But, you guys are really just running around chasing a tank that's running around this corner over here, or trying to hide from being shot by some dude around this corner. So a lot of this little itty bitty detail can sometimes get lost on the players, but I think it's effective. Like, people notice it, just in the back of their minds. So I think it's worth spending the time to make what you see look as good as we can get it, even if you don't pay attention to it. Oh, the $1.99 taco name, Dr. Josk. So, I don't know, I've had that handle for a while. I had another handle. It just felt like it was time to move on from it. I was playing, Jedi Knight 2 or something online. I had this stupid infantile handle like Darth Poop or something. And I was just, I need a new handle. My wife was like, hey, $1.09 taco combo. I was like, that's a good one. Genius. So I just kept it, and yeah, I think it's funny. Everyone on the team seems to love it way more than I do, because once they figured out who that guy was that they were shooting and killing, like, who the hell is $1.99 taco combo? They all laughed about it. I have the little medallion that we got when we launched the game. It's got the name on it. Sometimes when I play, I'll play TF2 sometimes, and the people on the server will start a price war, so someone will rename themselves, whatever, $1.98 burrito combo. So yeah, it gets a lot of giggles. So props to my wife. So back to this. So you can see this spot is just shrubs and trees. So I want to stick a dude in here. So we'll twist him around. Another new thing we've added to Hossin is we revamped all the flora, which is what we call all these little grasses and stuff that you can't collide with and that you can turn on and off. So Hossin was feeling a little green kind of perpetually, so we went and tried to add a lot of color in. So we got these little purple, buttercup flower things. Did some new ferns with some red little curlicues. And the real drive to redoing this was we reduced the polygons on them all. So all this flora is, 50% cheaper than the old flora. So that means you'll get a little bit better frame rate everywhere. It's hard to resist the urge to place twice as much of them, which I know our programmers, if they're watching, would be very furious if we did. So this looks like a nice little spot here. I'm going to pop him in here. So it's just, take these guys, try to stick them places that look interesting. Look like we could use some little more pizzazz. And then while I'm working, maybe I'll spot some bug or some error, so I'll just fix that up too. So I talked about these groups before. What's nice about them is they'll follow the train. So you can see as I scroll it around up this hill, they all jump around on the ground. So that makes it really easy to place, what is this, six different shrubs really quickly. I can rotate them all, and these all have all these goodies attached to them. Like you can see all these little sparklies floating on them. So we don't have to keep placing all these by hand. And, little shortcuts like that is how games get made, really. You just take your library of stuff and you work out from it. If Zalorn is asking, if you don't play with flora on, how would you know the best place to put your mines? You don't play with flora. I don't get that phrasing. Well, if you don't play with flora on, then it just looks a little bit boring. It runs a little better. It's definitely like an optional thing. That's why we let you turn it off. We actually have a rule with the flora that it can't be taller than you when you're crouching. So like let me drop this guy over here really quick so he's not stuck to my camera. So if you were as a player and you're crouching like this, right? See, I'm crouching. If this flora is in your face, you're gonna think you have cover, but some other player who has flora turned off is gonna be thinking, why is that guy crouching in the middle of the mud? That makes no sense. So we have a rule that it can't make you feel like you're hidden. But this object here, this little grassy thing, this is an actual object, so it stays whether the floor is here or not. So every player has to load this object. So you can crouch and feel, like you're reasonably covered up. Zalorn, I was talking. This is fun reading this. I like all you guys' little smileys. So now that we've placed a few, we'll show you some of the little goodies that come with them. You can see here this drop down is my list of lighting files. So this is like our basic boring, I want to be able to see everything, and I usually turn shadows off because it makes it, well, I'll leave them on, makes it look nice. So when we're working, at least when I'm working, I like to keep it simple so I can see what I'm doing. I know it's going to look good and pretty when we're done, but all that prettiness can be distracting. So I turn it off so I can just get this nice, flat, boring version of the world, which makes it, easier for me to spot what I'm doing, to spot bugs. If a shrub's floating, it's a lot easier to see that shrub if it looks like it's in a department store jewelry case instead of some super dark swamp. But when I'm done, I'll turn on our Hossin lighting, and I have it set at night just right now so that I can see all these things I'm placing. They glow at night, which is all the objects, these regional objects, they glow. And I can hide all these little things that show my group. So now I can look around and see, looking out. What I want to be able to say is when we're done with this little spot, at any given spot, I can see some cool little glowy things. So this spot out here is looking a little dead, so I'm going to go check that out. But one of the new things we did with these object groups is we added lights to them. So now you can see there's a little light spot cast here. So as a player, if you're hanging out here, some sniper over here is going to see you and shoot you. And it just makes things a little more interesting. We get these little highlights off the water, and it lights up the rocks around them. So, I think it's a nice little thing. This is new stuff we've been trying with our groups. Here, actually, we have this little, I'll show it to you. We have this little object, this guy, this little stick. This is where the light comes from. In the game, you guys aren't going to see him. We make him invisible, so only the light shows up. But this is how we can, I can move this around if I want to. We have, of course, normal light objects, but those are hard to place in a group at a fixed height. Usually they plop down on the ground and they get kind of annoying. So that's why we do them. That's why we came up with that little hack of a little stick. So let's drop a few more here. Destroy. Devin wore. I did wear a green shirt. Yep. I wasn't here yesterday, so I had to make up for St. Patrick's Day, I thought. And I didn't realize we had a green thing back there, so I get to be a little floating torso here. Alanum is asking, are those glowing plants flora or a physical object? These glowing plants are physical objects. They have collision. Here, I'll pop one on right here. We zoom in on it. I can turn collision on this guy. Where is that? Right here. So, there's a bug. So the collision mismatches in our editor. In the client, when you guys are playing the game, you won't see it, but this little purple outline is the collision of the object. So we build, most of our plant collisions we build so that this part here, this little bulb, that's what you want to get stuck on. You're going to have to jump over it. But all these little leaves, you don't want to trip on them. You're just going to get that stupid, like, I'm stuck on something kind of behavior. So we turn those off because it's just a lot easier for your experience as a player to get through there. But it's kind of you have to find a balance. So you might feel if you're hiding here, someone shouldn't be able to shoot you, but it's a lot better than having to get stuck on all these little ridges and stuff. So we pick all the big shapes. Like you'll notice in the trees, pretty much everywhere in the game, we don't put collision on the. If I grab this tree, we don't put collision on the leaves. Otherwise, everyone who plays a pilot would be sending me hate mail every single day, because the tip of your wing hits this leaf and you're doing a backspin, you hit the ground, and then you stop playing the game. So that's no fun. So we hide all the stuff that doesn't make sense, that a bullet should hit or should get your sender tripped up or whatever. So like I said, because these are objects, we get to keep them around all the time. So you can definitely count on hiding behind them. Cooliosis says I sound like Bob Ross. I don't know about that. I can do my Bob Ross voice. And I put in the happy little shrubs. But I'm not going to do that. And also Jonas Groob said green hair. Actually, my hair used to be green. Back in high school, I dyed it. I bleached it first, and then I dyed it blue, and then it turned green. And I dyed it purple and orange. This was back before, everybody at the mall had green hair. It was pretty fun. I always liked confusing old ladies. I'd open the door and hold it for them. This weird guy with, bright orange hair. I'm like, what? He's so polite, but he looks so scary. Honey, I see Artecos says, I see aloe vera plants. Were these a response to the upcoming implementation of flamethrower? What? There's no flamethrowers, are there? I don't know what weapons are coming in. I don't really keep it abreast of the what the weapons guys are doing. If there are flamethrowers, yeah, these plants aren't going to help you. I guess you just got to run from them or shoot the guy with the flamethrower. Anyway, I'm going to switch back to this lighting because, you see, now I can see what I'm doing and look around for stuff. So remember, we were looking down this way, and this spot was feeling kind of bland. So I'm going to fly over here, plop some more down. So when we finish this spot, we will go to another spot, and I'll show you some of the other objects we have. Not so you don't just have to stare at these orange guys for whatever 2 more hours. And as unglamorous as it looks, this is kind of our day, at least sometimes our day-to-day process of making the game. Is you just cruise around and you find little spots and you make it look nice. And then we have other objects in here, other object groups that I could be using. Like, I got these rock ones. This spot, we did a first pass on this a while ago. So most of this is pretty well decorated with rocks and trees and shrubs, and I got these cool logs. Oh, 69 WoW Freak, we need more of this from game developers. Well, thank you. We enjoyed doing it. We have to give credit to Mr. Clegg. He, on a whim, decided I'm going to live stream what I'm working on, and everyone really liked it. So we kind of decided to expand on it. It was a really clever idea of his. I wish we had thought of it earlier. So this guy here, you can see this shrub is floating. So while I'm in here, I'm gonna see this whole group wasn't floating. So we have a way to plop it all down on the terrain. So I just did that. So now this shrub is nice and settled. And I think I'm gonna rotate it just a little bit. Whoop. Okay, I gotta switch one of my preferences. Don't mind all this stuff. Oh, that is turned on. Huh. There we go. So I bank it a little bit. Some of these look a little weird when they're on a steep incline and they're just completely vertical. And then we make sure that if someone ever changes this group, that one doesn't switch itself back. So we turn this little box off, which you can't see. Oh wait, now you can't see it. So some of this might be a little out in the weeds, but I think it's a fun way to see the technical details of what we do, not just, you know, prettied up trailers and stuff. So this spot here, you know, it's a little bland. There's just a little bit of mud, so I'm going to put something in here, maybe a little bigger. So I'm going to go through my groups here, and we have here they are, tree husks. We have these cool little groups of dead trees and stuff, and there's these cool 2B ones. This guy, wait, not that one. Which one is it? That one. It's in here, so side, this one. No. Sometimes I forget which ones are which, because they're all just named Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, so as you start to use them on a day-to-day basis, you start to remember which ones are which. So, one of the other reasons we started using these groups is that it lets us place a lot more objects, which means we can make less objects, which makes Hossin run faster. So you'll see, you know, this fern and this little vertical green shrub are really the only two plants on the entire continent. Since we only have two, that means we can place a lot of them. If we had made 15 of those, that would really kind of slow down your guys' computers and my computer, everybody's computer. So what we want to do, I'm trying to grab this because I see these shrubs are floating, so we're going to pop those guys down nice and easy. On Hossin, we kind of learned our lessons from the other continents that we can make less assets and find ways to use more of them in more interesting ways. And I think the more Jonas Grove wants me to take off my sweater to get a flying head. I'll do that in a little bit. So we can place more of these in more interesting ways, and the more observant players amongst you guys will notice that, oh, I saw that tree log, you know, 10 meters away, I ran through it. But if we can put more stuff around it, right? So I'm going to take this group here of some gnarly ass vines. Oh, I swore, so any of you guys are going to get mad at me. They tell us not to swear because they have to edit it, so I apologize. I'm going to try really hard not to swear, but I don't think I can do it. I should probably make a swear jar or something, because it's kind of hard, at least for me. Yeah, so I can place this group next to it and put some more stuff around it so that you don't notice immediately that it's the exact same group, or same object. So now we get this cool little thing to run through, and so sometimes in these areas, what we like to... Please refrain from... Oh wait, no, say this here, we'll take the shirt off so we can do the floating. Whoa. It's not like super green, it's like a heathered green shirt, so that's why you still see the little parts of it. It's kind of spooky, but it's actually really cold in here too, so I'm not just kind of covering up my mistake with the sweater, I'm actually a little chilly. So in these little areas, what makes it fun sometimes is you just find a little spot and you decorate it out so it creates a nice little, I don't know, I guess a vignette would be the right word, which means that, you know, this nice little pocket of interest. That, so if we switch this back to nighttime, turn off our little UI duties, you know, we get this and it makes a nice light on this guy. We get this cool little passage through here, so you as a player, you might be here and, you know, that light's gonna draw you in. You start to think, when you're working like this, what I always tell like our interns is that think about what the player's doing at any given spot and where you can direct his or her eyes, where you want her to run, what you want her not, you know, to ignore. So little things like that. They're a lot more useful in maybe some of our other games, but it's still nice to create little bits like this. wtih, can you paint objects onto other objects? I guess you can. I'm going to show you what we can do. I hope it answers your question. We can absolutely place objects on other objects. So I can go through my list here. You know what? First, we're going to make sure. See, I have not saved this, and we've been doing this for 20 minutes. So I'm going to save my work, because otherwise it's going to crash. I have to do this all over. And I know last week Klaus said that when he does it over, it comes out worse, but I think the opposite. When you do it over, at least for me, it comes out a little better because you remember all the stuff you did the first time that worked, and you didn't waste time doing things that didn't work. So, you know, doing it over is kind of a blessing in disguise sometimes when something crashes, but still it's a waste, you know, no one wants to waste time. Oh, so what we can do is place objects on top of objects. So like I can take this guy. See, I don't have to work just with those groups. I can place this guy wherever I want. And then I can move him up on top of this tree right here. Alright, we'll put him there. We're going to make this the... Oh wait, your name scrolled up. I think it was wtih. We're going to make this the wtih awesome log of examples. So we'll keep this in the game. So wtih, if you're ever here, I don't know, wherever this is on the map, it's right around here. If you remember this when we launch Hossin, you can look here and go, oh yeah, that's that thing you made. So I can stick that on top of it. There's some ways to, like this button turns on collision. So if I place another one of these, it'll, what? No, well, it's supposed to stick on top of the object. Oh, it kind of works sometimes. So that's not really painting in the sense that I'm like drawing and a bunch of objects are showing up, but I can individually place things here. So let's go like take this light stick that I made, I was talking about earlier. Let's go stick it up on top of that little tubey thing here. We call these guys swamp bulbs. Very descriptive name. So we'll hide it in there, and then we switch back to nighttime, and there we go. We got a little guy on the roof. But that doesn't look nice, because it's just one guy by himself. That's no good. What you want to do is, you know, you want to settle these things in. You'll duplicate them. Remember I was talking about we just use a few assets. We just take the same asset, scale it down a little bit, rotate it a different direction, bank it. You know, you want to keep some variety, some kind of alternate scales, keep things interesting for your eye. And then that looks a little better. And you know what, we're going to do one more down here to kind of ground it near the bottom. And this is, you know, I normally wouldn't spend a lot of time doing this little nitty-gritty stuff out here in the middle of nowhere, because you as a player, what we're talking about, you know, remember what the players are doing. In this area, players are just driving past everything in their tanks or running through trying to get to the next base. So this really precise kind of crafting we'll usually say for inside the bases. So the designers are doing their bases now, and then the next time I'm on here, we'll probably be taking their bases and prettying them up, where we do stuff like this. We make the bases a little more pretty. There was someone who asked a question about designers making bases or something. Does anybody repeat that question? Because it looked interesting, but I just caught a glimpse of it. I wanted to finish putting down answering that question. So let's kind of check our area out again. You know, I can turn objects off and look for bugs under the water. Like, not literally bugs, but sometimes we'll paint the wrong textures down here. But everything looks... Cooliosis, do you design areas based on how battles will be fought in them, or just to make them look interesting? We do both, actually. We... this area, right, you're mostly just passing through it. Maybe having small-scale skirmishes in here. So we design it to look interesting, and the gameplay kind of comes out of just the wherever we put things, I guess. So like when I'm placing objects, we want to make sure that, you know, you have a path. As a player, you might be hiding behind this rock and you want to get over to that rock without being shot at, so maybe we need to add just something here. Doesn't really matter what it is. The designers don't care what it is, but, you know, us on the art team, we might care that whatever we put here looks nice. So let's put, you know, something like that here, so that you have something to hide behind, and it looks nice, and it improves your gameplay. So it kind of does a little bit of both. Inside the bases, that's more, the designers have a lot more control, and honestly, it's more important that that stuff is more carefully thought out. You know, I could sit and drop buildings all day, but those buildings would probably not be fun to fight over, because that's not really my purview of thinking too much about how fun that base is to play on and stuff. So they're kind of running the show on those, and I just kind of come in later and try to make it as pretty as I can without kind of chewing up the intent. Arteikos is asking, are you heavily responsible for the assets you're working with in the editor? I think we could use some more clarification of the title environment artist at SOE. And, well, yeah, I mentioned, I answered that a little bit earlier, but we have a team of people, so I can point out, you know, individual things I made. Like I made most of these flowers, for example. Like I made this, some of this terrain texture, but someone else made it first and I just polished it. I made these tree branches. A different artist made these cool trees. His name's Ryan Zimmerman. Shout out to you, Ryan, if you're listening. He's a great tree guy. He's working on an unannounced project, so whatever that is, it's gonna have some sweet trees. And someone else made these rocks, and someone else made these logs. So an environment artist will be given the task of building all this stuff in Maya or in Photoshop, kind of building the 3D assets. And then the environment artist will also be responsible for determining where these go so that it looks nice. You know, if not to rag on our designers, they actually have really good eyes for this stuff, but if say a less experienced designer came in and started dropping all this stuff down, it would just look like a mess. There'd just be random things everywhere. There's a certain subtlety to what you place here so that it looks as soothing as you can. So at SOE, the term environment artist means kind of all of that. So some environment artists spend a lot of time in Maya and modeling. Some of them spend a lot of time like in the tool like this. We all kind of help out where we can. And some people kind of specialize in certain other areas, like my buddy Ryan, who makes awesome trees. So he usually gets first dibs on trees. And he's probably not watching this. He's gonna hear about this tomorrow. Like, oh, Devin said your name. He'll be like, what? Hey Devin, did you... Lassome? Is that his O? Or 0? Yeah, he's asking if I talked about World Builder, any of the initial content creation. No, I did not. I probably won't go into that, because that can be a little boring to watch for more than 20 minutes, because it's a lot of like, you see one screen, you move a number, you push a button and wait for it to rebuild, and you look at it and you change the number to something else, so it's not super flashy. Doesn't get the Twitch views. I gotta work on my Twitter, followers. I can't do that with boring stuff. Rainbow's asking, oh, Lassome is Matt Higbee. Huh, I didn't know that. I don't I don't know what his Twitch thing is. I thought his name was, he has a Twitter handle called Higbee or something. Yeah, he's nobody. Actually, he sits right across from me. And he's got a cool monitor that has cool NVIDIA toys in it or something. He's got a very sweet dog who likes to attack Klaus with his, with Matt's obvious permission. I think he trains her every day with a Klaus doll to sick. So, yeah, I think we spend much time in this little spot. Let's take a peek in nighttime. I only really use nighttime because it makes it easier to spot these things. While we're here, let's find, where'd that cool log we made go? Where'd that guy go? Right over here. So we can plop down to first-person view, and let's look at other times of day. So let's do, what do you guys want to do, sunset or sunrise first? What do you think? First one to answer wins. Sunset or sunrise? Waiting. Alright, none of this. This is too long. You guys are too slow. So that's dusk, right before the moon sets or rises. So here we go. Here's sunrise. So you can see, pretty cool. We'll probably be tweaking some of this lighting now that we've added all this color back in. A lot of the lighting I did was a little too green, pushing the greens everywhere, which is kind of chewing up some of these purples. You can see you don't really see the distinction between them that much. I'd like to improve that. Also, not really exciting to watch for another time, because it's just a text file. It's really just a giant file of words and numbers. So that is definitely not fun. So here's, mid-morning. Sunrise. Oh, now you... Oh, I see. There's a delay. Heh. Yeah, obviously my my credentials aren't up to speed here. So that means if I swear, no one will hear it for 10 seconds. So here is dusk, right? So we will... That's... There, I don't like that one. There we go. That's sunset. So you can see the different times of day, which actually is pretty fun in these logs if you get the time just right. You can get the sun poking through these little holes, which is pretty fun. Or you could drop some C4 in here and blow up some dude. Anyway, so there's obviously a lot of times of day I can use, but I like to use nighttime, just so because these guys glow, it's easier to spot. How I did. So when I started, there were none of these here. So now that we're done, for this area, my hope is that if you were playing and you were right here and you took a screenshot, someone's going to know that you were in this area, kind of give or take, because that's where these orange glowy things are. So pretty much anywhere you look, there's an orange glowy thing. Yeah, maybe there's not one over here, but that's okay. We don't need to, create an industry of orange glowy farms in this area. It's alright if we miss a few. What's back here? Oh, this is a placeholder, I think. You'll see as we cruise around some stuff in progress, like the designers, I think, are going to put a base here. So this is what it looks like before they get started. It's just normal stuff. And Zalorn, if Matt can do an entire... Wait, so the people with swords are on my team? Are they... Because Matt had a sword on his name too. This is confusing. If Matt can do an entire stream without swearing, well, you've seen those command setters. They swear quite a lot on those. I think saying one, I think I'm gonna be ahead of him at the very least. Easter egg, half sunken BFR kills switches. Says I think we still have the BFR in here. We have these fun little assets that we use mostly for reference. I think there's a BFR because I know we hid one in the tutorial, but I can't find it. I don't know where they hid it. Like common. See, this is our like directory structure. It's all inside baseball in here, but sometimes there's. I know the BFR's in here somewhere. Man, oh well. Well, it's in there somewhere, buddy. But I'm not gonna stick it in the swamp. If we do, we'll either get lots of hate mail or way too many people thinking, oh, BFRs are coming in next week. I saw it on the stream, so I don't want to get in trouble. Let's put one of these over here, because this spot looks a little boring. Alright, so now we're done with what orange bulb land. Let's go make a new. Let's save it. Save often. Is there a colossal tank in this assets? Victor Marks the Marshal is asking. Well, there's no giant tank, but I can take any object I want and make it giant, which is what's really cool about our dudes here. So like, let's take a Sunderer. Oh, that one's not textured. That's boring. Vanguard. Let's take a Vanguard. These are our dummy objects, so they don't really look like they should. So this guy's got ugly textures. So, you know, I can make it as big as I want. That'd be pretty cool, right? Cruising through the swamp in a giant tank. You know? And it's... This stuff can be fun. You can kind of make some silly things. Some silly little trees and some silly little army guys. And some happy little tanks. There we go. Alright, so because of the way our editor works, I can make things whatever size I want. But obviously that's not gonna go in. We can't just leave giant green statues. Actually, sometimes we do leave them and you guys find them and we get bugs about them. So if you find a green statue, you know, first off, I'm sorry, we should have deleted it, but second, good spot. Oops. So let's go play with the other assets. We got some, what should we use? Let's do the blue ones. Those are pretty cool. So the idea is, we have the idea with Hossin is concentric rings. So the outer ring, it's hard to draw here. So the inner ring is basically where the swampy water is, and that's where the orange bulbs we just placed are. The middle plateau has more dry textures, so it's going to be where this other asset we made that's red. And then this outer ring out here, we're going to stick these blue bulb things, which turned out pretty cool. So let's go, I don't know, let's go over here. So I can go teleport over there. And while I'm teleporting, let's read what we got. Bright pink, marked for removal. That is right, Lockjaw 78. We did that so it was immediately obvious that something is wrong. So we have bright glowing pink objects. So now that I'm in this spot of the world, we will, let's see, 40, 16, I have to do this manually. The computer in the AV room here doesn't have some of the connections that we need to get, you know, all our tools talking to each other, because you know, it's not something we use every day. So as this progresses, we might get a little better about this. So I apologize for the boring screen of a bunch of little green things and numbers and boring stuff. Ololi killing spree. Hossin! Yes, this is Hossin. We're at an hour in or so, so those of you just joining us, we are hiding the train. No. There we go. We are cruising around Hossin, checking out some of the new assets and how people on the environment team place it, and all the little kind of bugs and stuff about our tool that might be of interest. Shout out. I'll try to do my best to explain it. Implement of war. Devin, when in doubt, place more glowy mushrooms. Glowy mushrooms are kind of they are off limits at this studio sometimes. They are very cliched, and if we can avoid it, we do. Because, the last thing you want is something you've seen in every other game. Cooliosis, do you ever resize common things to give the illusion of something completely different? Cybercat, I like pie. That's right. Pie is the best. I bet he knows me. Whoever that is either knows me or he heard. Anyway, do you ever resize common things to give the illusion of something completely different? Yes. Actually, the designers did that a lot. I remember Klaus used fence posts or something to hide holes in the wall. So that's a good example of taking something and scaling it up to hide, maybe a mistake that Klaus did. Or, sometimes we'll take smaller, scale them. Usually it's with environment buildings because those are not immediately obvious that you are trying to pull a fast one. If you take a concrete thing and scale it up to make it look like a wall, you're not really going to notice that we're trying to be creative with it. But if I take a tree and scale it up, you're going to be like, that's just a tree that you made big. Or if I made it really, really tiny so the tree looked like a twig, the way twigs are, shaped, it's not going to, you're going to spot it right away and it's going to look lazy. Zalorn equals Nalorn. Question, does the Terminator have a scripting language of any sort? That is Vonic VS. No, it doesn't, but can you guys, you can see down here, this little window here has most of the slash commands available to us in the client. So this is how I was changing the time of day. Alright, so if I switch back to our Hossin lighting, I can make it noon. I can, let's show you some of the really techie boring stuff. So I can we have these commands, debug view, light coverage on, which, well, it's not going to help much here, but we have these commands that let us see. Let's place a light really quick. I'm not going to go into like why or how I place that light, but you can see I have this little gray sphere around this light. So if I change what we call the radius of the light, that sphere gets bigger and smaller. And if I take that light and duplicate it a few times, you can see the radius of each light, and then these whiter parts are where the light is overlapping. So these pixels here are more expensive because they have 4 lights rendering on them. So it's not a scripting language, but it is definitely, the commands we use in the client to evaluate performance, stuff like that. The crisis business. Why does everyone at SOE have amazing hair? Thank you. Actually, you know what? I just cut my hair. It used to be quite long. So I'm glad it's working out for me. We're gonna turn this. See these little orange guys that we had earlier? They had lights on them, so you can see the little radius thing. So I'm gonna turn that off so it doesn't distract us. So this area, we're gonna have the blue area. So I don't want these orange guys anymore. So where I find them, we are gonna nuke them, because this is not the orange area. This is the blue area. So if I fly up here, you can kind of make out the edges. Let me hide the edges of this blue outline here. This is kind of my work area. I'm gonna keep myself inside that box, so I don't get too lost and I can focus and make sure I don't miss any spots. So I'm going to just cruise around really quick, and if I see these orange guys, delete them, because they're going to kind of pollute the idea that, this area is different than the others. We don't want them to mix. So now we're gonna go load up the blue guys, which are called blue bulbs. So these guys are pretty cool. One of our artists, Chris Bishop, fixed these up. He did a pretty good job with them. So they're a lot taller, you can see, than the orange. Let's just drop them down, take a look at them. Oh, this looks good. And we'll get them right in this little gully here. So they're a lot taller than the orange things. They, you know, have a totally different silhouette, and they're blue, right? That's gonna help. And you know, this is gonna help differentiate each area, just, you know, with using a few different assets. So if I place these everywhere, this area is gonna look way different. You know, and this goes along with, we use different ground textures in certain areas, so it should help keep, you know, things looking a little unique as much as we can get away with. So let's go up to our normal sky and we'll get going. So, you know, this spot here, just big old plop of dirt and mud. So we're gonna try to spice this up where we can. We're at 1 hour, 4 o'clock, so 1 hour to go. I was supposed to have codes to give you guys with decals of Matt and Trammell, but there's no email on this computer, so I don't have the codes. So next time, hopefully, we'll be able to give you codes of fun goodies to kind of, you know, break up the whatever we're doing, the work in progress. There we go. I like this rock. That's a good shape. You know, it creates a nice little spot. I can kind of settle on this. You'll see what I was doing. I was just clicking through different ones and seeing what they look like. But this is a good one. So you got this nice little spot you can hide in. I can, so I like this guy. I'm gonna stick him here. Yeah, maybe we'll put him a little closer to the water. It's all, you know, pretty small stuff, but it adds up. Caring about where all these little things go. So we got blue guys. Segfault 314. Any plans on adding weather to the game? I'd love to see monsoons on Hossin. I would too. That would be pretty cool. In most of the projects I've worked on, weather is always a thing that gets dropped first, because it's usually kind of difficult to do, and there's a lot more kind of functional things that can affect your gameplay. So I know, you know, all of us would love to do weather, and hopefully we'll be able to do it sometime in the future. What we do have on our game, which if you play you'd probably know, is the time of day is pretty dynamic. We got the moons flying around in the sky, and, you know, the sunlight changes. Cooliosis, weather equals CPU death. Yeah, sometimes. What else we got? Geo305. Oh, he wants the Trammell decal. He didn't have many. I have a huge list of them, but we'll have to check in next week for work in progress round 3. I think Clegg's gonna be on next week, so he can show you how to make a Clegg base, and then after that I'll come in and I'll show you how to make it not look ugly. I'm kidding. Adam makes very nice looking bases. He's good at it. Well, he did some cool new bases on Amrish. He did that one. We call it the zoo, because here in San Diego we have a zoo that has this cool walkway that goes above, like an aviary, and you're above the trees and stuff. So he got the idea while he was at the zoo. So kind of internally we just call it the zoo base. But that one was pretty cool. I liked how that turned out. When I had to go make it look pretty, I didn't really have to do much. I mostly just deleted a few trees that were expensive, and added some paths so you guys don't get lost. That was about it. Does the Clegg dance? What's the Clegg dance? I've never seen Adam dance. Oh, does he do that at Fanfare? So, you know, usually when I place these things, it's stuff like this. It's nice to kind of stick them in corners. I don't know why. It just looks more appealing to me for some reason. Just kind of, because if you stick them out here, they're just kind of lonely. you're compelled to just place more things around it, and if we did that all day, the game would just run like terribly because we just spent all day placing new assets everywhere. So I like to find little nooks and crannies to stick them into. So you'll see I'm just kind of placing them down and moving on. What I usually do is take these guys. I'll rotate them around after I place a few, because if I don't rotate them, it can become a little more obvious that I use the same thing over and over again. So it's kind of an open secret, I guess, that we use the same things repeatedly, and I want to make sure that it's as unobvious. Is that right? I hope my grammar's holding up. That it's not super obvious. So whatever I can do to hide the fact that I'm cheating by using this, the same thing over and over is good. So we'll place some blue guys around. We got this group here. We can talk about this one's kind of neat. We got this big group right here. You can see the box is hidden in here. And everyone's talking about Zalorn. Is that Alex? Or is that Klaus? Xander Klaus? Anyway, this group is kind of a new thing we added for Hossin, where it's a giant. I can hide it, and you can see all of that was just tied to this cube. We wanted to start using groups to talking to the designers. We're like, we need ways to control where the players go a little better. So we built this big group that the idea is that a tank can't get through here, but maybe more adventurous players can. So a light assault definitely, he'll just hop up here and jump right over this thing. Maybe some kind of, patient heavy assault guys will get up on these rocks and get up in here. So this asset, the phrase we used is semi-porous to infantry, but completely blocking tanks. So this way we can very easily just plop this down, and the designers in their bases can use it to kind of guide where they want you to go, where they don't want you to get too easily. They can talk more specifically about that kind of stuff, but in general they tend to, from at least what I overhear, they tend to think about risk versus reward. Like, yeah, the player's gonna get up on there pretty much no matter what we do, but you want to make it annoying so that he really has to earn getting up to an advantageous position. And on Hossin, we wanted to make sure that we took some time to address some of the issues with the other bases, and we tried to give the art team, the designers more assets to help them with those goals. So Hossin's kind of fun and special for us because it was the one that we got to kind of start from scratch and think about all the new stuff we built on, or think about all the stuff we built on Hamrish and Esamir and all that, and try to improve that with a blank slate. So I'm pretty happy with it. So we've been sitting on it for a little while, so we're really anxious to get it out and let you guys play on it, because I think it looks pretty cool. It's nice to see the work you do finally go public. So you see it, just like I was talking about, I'm just kind of sticking them next to things, filling up spots that I think look a little empty. Oh, you know what? This one's kind of fun. I'll see if I can spot one of these. It's probably not in here, so keep your eyes peeled. But when you're playing on Hossin, if I see one, I'll call it out. We basically built a little racetrack around the continent, and it's not marked. So you'll see a bunch of rocks and stuff that are ramped just right, and if you hit them, you can basically do a whole lap, like Mario Kart PlanetSide style. You can do a whole lap around the world, do some sweet jumps, and I don't remember exactly where they are, so I'm sure you guys will have a fun time trying to track it down and build a little official map of the course or something. But there's a lot of there's none here. You'll see they're pretty obvious when you see them. There's a giant log sticking out at an angle, and it is just begging to be jumped off of. So those are pretty fun. That was another fun thing we added. Like, oh, it was neat when the game launched. We watched a lot of people doing quad races across Indar, and we're like, oh, that was really cool. We should find a way to support that, and find new ways for that to happen. I'm just reading over here. You guys, racetrack, yeah. It's pretty fun. Oh, someone marked it in the Reddit post. That's cool. I'm glad someone found it. Because, the designer worked on that. He really enjoyed doing that. So I'm glad you guys spotted it. So now I spotted like some floating things over here. See if we can find them. I'll find them again. So let's check our work. Go to nighttime. Hide all our UI. There we go. So I saw someone in the chat asked if they're like poison ivy. Nope. They just look cool. I don't know if we can make them damaging. I bet we could, but we won't, cause that's too annoying. Like, if I'm standing too close to this, I get hurt. What we want you to do is like run up to it and hide behind it and like, come and shoot this guy over here. Yeah, we tend to keep these things kind of, they're just dressing, make it look interesting, look alien. But we don't want you to like, spend a lot of your mental energy worrying about them. You have enough guys shooting your face up, and you're probably paranoid about a tank coming around these trees or some liberator roaming up above the canopy here. The last thing you want to deal with is, oh my gosh, is that plant gonna kill me? And things like that, especially, you need to make it really obvious to a player, in my opinion, that it's gonna hurt them. So if this random plant hurts you but no other plants do, yeah, it's gonna be a little unfair. It's kind of cheap. Need Venus flytraps to kill those annoying mossies. That'd be fun. So you can see this is starting to shape up, and for those of you who've been here the whole time, this is using the same trees and rocks and water and mud and stuff. We're just adding these blue assets in. It's instantly recognizably different than where we just were. So as you play, you'll start to get used to that. You'll start to pick up on those cues, and it'll just help, make things feel a little different. Like on Esamir, I think it got a little monotonous, I guess. Esamir, I think, is my favorite continent artistically. I really like the bleakness that we accomplished. But, when you're running across the whole continent, it all kind of looks the same, just bleak snow. I totally understand how that can get tiresome. So, doing these things should help, keep you guys a little more engaged, a little more fun. Lukiva says, Vanu are going to be invisible here all at night. Well, the lighting that you see is not final. I definitely have a task to come back and work at it a little. The problem that we're going to face here is that everything is basically in the shade. On the other continents, shade wasn't as prevalent, so we could get by with some spots that maybe a Vanu guy's going to be a little harder to see, but it's not everywhere. So what I'll probably end up doing is lightening it up a little bit. There's a lot of what we call post-processing, is where we take the frame that you're rendering, and then we like tweak the colors to it. There's a lot of post-processing on this that was made before, like these blue things were in, before these little purple flowers. They're hard to tell they're purple. These purple flowers are in. So there's a lot of post-processing that was done to get a lot of color into this. and it kind of squishes all the dark colors together, which makes it dark, which makes Vanu easy to see, or hard to see, so we're definitely going to address that. Rainbow, but I love the dark. I love the dark too, but at a certain point, what looks good does not play well. So we always have to be mindful of what the players are doing, not how cool my portfolio is going to look if I got this awesome dark swamp. So, and you know, the players always win. I probably said that a little ruefully, but no, it's serious. Whatever changes you need to make the game more fun for your players is always gonna be the best choice, I think. And you know, as an artist, there's not a lot of opportunity for impactful changes like that, but the lighting is probably the biggest one, so it's really important that we get that right and not let our artistic natures take over and just, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make it pretty. I don't care if it runs at 5 frames a second. It looks good. That's no good. That doesn't help anybody. And if Ryan Elam's watching, he's probably happy to hear that. But he probably doesn't believe me, because he's, you know, I'm sure he wishes our assets ran a little faster. And usually the way to make them run faster is to not make them look as good. So, see, we got this guy. Got a nuke him. You're no good. And we will save, because it's been a while. So, nighttime view, right? Let's hide our little dudes. So we got pretty good amount of blue around here. Looking at these, I'm probably going to increase the brightness of this light, because this is pretty subtle. I wish it were bigger, and I wish it were bluer. So this is a good example of, like, we have an idea, we implement it, and then as I start using it, I start to realize, you know, that's not working out like I thought. I'm gonna have to go in and tweak it. So, looks nice and gloomy, Lukiba says that. It does, I think so. It's tricky with gloomy, I think. We struggled with this, at least I did. Gloomy, you know, your instinct is to make it dark and low contrast and, you know, really close fog. And sometimes that can make it hard to play in. So, you know, there were versions of the lighting where it was like super dark. And it was, you know, it looked cool. I think it looked cool, but it was just way too hard to play in. I mean, you guys think it's bad now. You should see some of the things I've tried. And, you know, sometimes I probably should have noticed it first, but I didn't. And then Corey, one of our designers, who I also sit next to. I sit next to a lot of designers, you'll notice. Or Jamel will be like, man, that's too dark. You gotta fix that. And I'm like, come on, guys. Be brave. Make it dark. And then, you know, they're usually right. I usually overdo it. Degeneration. You should scale those plants slightly up and down to give them more variation. I should. You're probably right. What I will probably do, and this is one of the cool things about our groups, is, like, let me place a couple of these here. So what I can do is I can take this group. I have another file that has all these groups stored in them. So I can take this one group and, you know, in the source of it, I can scale this one down a little or something. Maybe this one too. And then I can save that change, and then I can implement that change across the entire world, everywhere where that group is. So I don't have to go track down every single one and rescale them, and I don't have to go in and place a bunch of new ones so that they're different scaled. I can just rely on the groups we placed to kind of propagate those large changes across the entire continent, which speeds time up for all of us. And this functionality was actually originally implemented by the designers for their bases. Sukonin. So I'm clueless. Who's the fellow in the stream here? Well, my name is Devin. Does it not have my thing there? Oh, I thought it was supposed to have my... Wait, can we do... Here, I'll do it like this. There we go. Hello. So you see my name right there? Devin Lafontaine. I'm an environment artist. And I have a green shirt on today, so I'm like mostly invisible. So let me go back here. So I'm running through the environment and implementing some new assets that we want to help make the game look a little prettier and help it feel a little different by area. So I was showing all the viewers so far what these new guys are and how we've been using them. XX Shark. Do all the planets... XX Shark. That's funny. Do all the planets use box colliders or a mix of mesh and box colliders? But first on Jiggly Amaramamacon. It looks like the dude. No, my hair needs to be longer. And I'm not laconic enough. Anyway, do all the planets use box colliders or a mix of mesh and box colliders? Well, all of our objects that are made in Maya all use mesh colliders. So I can turn it on this guy. So that's this guy's collision, which is probably a little high. I'll probably go back to my desk tomorrow and improve this, because I don't need all these polygons. But you can see that some of these don't have collision, like this part here doesn't. So that way, yeah, you can't stand on that. You're not gonna, bullets aren't gonna stop on that. You're not gonna get stuck on it. So basically all of our objects use mesh, like implicit geometry collisions. Some of them, it's a lot more simplified. I went over this a little earlier in the stream, but I'll show you again. Like this tree, like the collision, there's no collision on the leaves, and that lets airplanes fly through it. And that way, you know, an infiltrator can't like just stand in the foliage here, but we do it on the branches and stuff. So some of them, they're not always like a one-to-one collision. In some cases we simplify them down. Like this one that I showed you earlier, this definitely needs to be simplified, because the server has to track all these polygons and whether you're shooting them. So if I can simplify that, the server runs a little better, which, you know, if I have whatever 5,000 of these placed on Hossin, that's going to make it run a little better. The Watcher 105, are you growing your facial hair to become Jesus? My facial hair was actually longer for Halloween because I went as Jesus, and my hair was longer. It wasn't a great costume. It was kind of lazy. You know, I think it's the obligation of every dude with long hair to just kind of check out and do it. Like, oh, I'll just put on a toga and I'm in my costume. Give me a beer. Oh, so for those of you just joining us, this is the other regional object we were placing earlier in the stream. This orange one. So this goes in a specific spot in Hossin, and then these blue ones go in another spot. And nary the two shall meet. So that way, we can help the world feel a little different here and there. And this is a new addition. So most of the stuff that's placed here was done whenever we started Hossin, which was last year sometime. So now that we're getting back into it, we can take kind of a fresh look, and we decided this is actually Corey Navage's idea. He's one of the world designers. Or he's like the lead. I guess he's the lead world designer. I'm sorry, Corey. I didn't want to sell you short there. It was his idea. A lot of our ideas sometimes, a lot of times, they know. Just because they're not artists on their business card doesn't mean they can't have creative visual ideas. So it helps to, you know, listen to them. And he had this great idea of like, let's just, you know, add some objects that are interesting, colorful, and players can sort out where they are just based on where those are. We're going to go back to this lighting because I'm starting to get lost in the dark. So now I can see what I'm doing, right? I can see this berm here. I'm like, this guy needs that. Mano Drizzle, can you make the orange plant purple so that there are red, blue, and purple plant areas? Yeah, I probably could, but one of the things we did for Hossin is this new flora that we added. That I talked over in the earlier part of the stream. I added a bunch of purple in the flora. So there's these purple flowers. There's these purple plant thingies. And there's some purple things somewhere else, but they're just not here, so you can't see them. So that's kind of enough purple, and it's going to be everywhere in the continent for the most part, because so much of the continent has these greens and kind of orangish yellows. I thought purple would be a good choice kind of everywhere, instead of saving it just for a regional thing. Jesus of Hossin. Let's not get sacrilegious here. We want to be welcoming to everybody. Yeah, so let's just keep cruising along. So these are fun little things to place. I'm glad Corey had this idea, because it'll... Oh, Sukon is repeating a question. A request earlier for you to size up one of the blue plants to giant tree scale. Let's do that. Absolutely. Where should we put it? Well, I'm not going to stick it in. That's probably... Because these plants, a lot of our assets, they don't... You know what? I bet we could keep that in. That probably would look okay. Let's try it. So we take this guy and we just... I can peel this group apart into its kind of component objects, and then just mess with it. So you can see the shadow turning on and off. Our shadows are optimized to render sometimes based on how big the object is. Yeah, that looks promising. Not sold on it yet, but I think we could work with it. You know what I'll probably do is I'll probably make like a giant bulb group so that I can just place it like as a one-off once in a while. That's pretty good. Yeah, so this works out. My concern when you brought it up originally, yeah, I caught that too. Anime Golem. I'm not going to repeat it, but my concern when you first mentioned it was that sometimes when we scale our objects up, see, this is getting a little... This texture here is a little low res, so when you scale it up, it gets a little chunky. So this texture, which is basically used on every tree in Hossin, is nice, and it's a really big texture. So I can get away with making it larger. So so that way I can scale this up reasonably and not worry about it getting all blurry and low res. So if I do this, which I probably will, it looks promising. I'll have to go in later and kind of make a new group, I think. I remember when I was making these this morning, that same designer Corey, he felt these were a little too big. So I think what I'll end up doing later, which I could do now, but it's kind of boring, is make another group. Some of these are smaller. And then, yeah, I can make a giant one. And then, yeah, that could be cool. You know what, let's do it right here. I don't know who originally proposed that, because I know Sukanen repeated it. So whoever's original idea was, you can come check out this spot in Hossin when the game's live, and we'll have a giant tree inspired by your excellent idea. So let's scoot him over here. So I don't only have to place objects with these groups. I can place them by themselves whenever I want. The groups just make it easier for editing them later. So with Hossin, we try to place things with groups as frequently as we can. So we're going to rotate this. Alright, so let's put it near the road. What we want is it to kind of stick out. This guy's kind of tricky to rotate. There we go. We'll stick him out over the road a little bit. So when you're on the road, you get this nice thing sticking out. Maybe we'll, yeah, we'll put it right there. And then, so I have, this is funny, this object, this tree, this blue tree, there's only one on the whole continent. So what you'll see is that, you know, I'm just going to take this and just keep duplicating it. It's just the same thing. I could make more of these objects, but because of the nature of how they look, right, these little splayed out trunks with these little blue nodules on it, no matter what I make, it's mostly going to look the same. It's going to have the same general silhouette. So why bother wasting the resources of one whole new asset just for something that functionally to you as a player who's driving through here, trying not to get shot, is distracted by your platoon leader yelling at you to be at some waypoint or something, you're not going to notice that it's, oh, you know, oh, you need another one. So this way I can save that asset and make, you know, make another tree or make another building or something. So let's make this giant outcropping here. This is a rule that I learned from a guy I used to work with, Rick. Well, he still works here, Rick Randolph. He taught me because he was an illustrator by education. He got a degree in graphic design or something. So there's this rule of like the rule of odds, I guess. I don't know what the official name is, but you generally want to place things in odd amounts. So like 3s, 5s, 7s, that kind of thing. So that's why I placed these like this. It's, I don't know why. For some reason, it's just more pleasing to the eye if you do it in groups like that. So if any of you are ever at home drawing, trying to plan with something, you can, there's some free info for you that I stole from somebody else. That's what's nice about our job sometimes, is you get to work with people and you learn some fun things from them. So now we got this giant, I don't know what to call it, forest, I guess. Yeah, these hold up pretty well when they're big, but we're gonna, a little too much, you know. So a problem that we run into when doing environment art like this. Oh, let me pause. Question, would it be possible to make the leaves on the willow tree be dynamic? Oh, you know what, there's some technology that does that, where you can drive through it and the leaves all move around as you pass through it. Some of the newer engines and games are doing that. That's not to say we can't ever do it, but we certainly wouldn't do it now. It would be probably pretty expensive. I'm sure one of the coders could probably more give you an answer in more detail, but yeah, I don't think that's really likely. Because what would happen is that usually things like that in online games like ours, if something does that, it has to be sent to every player, as far as my understanding of it goes. I might be wrong. But, you know, if a guy flies his plane through there, every player has to be notified, oh, he flew his plane through there. And then, yeah, PhysX would do it, but PhysX, you know, that means every single one of these leaves has to be a PhysX entity, and not like an entire one, like every single strand. And that, you know, look how many strands there are. There's thousands of them. That can get expensive. Lobstrex, thank you. My voice is incredibly relaxing. I've hated my voice forever. It's a little squawky, I think. Maybe the internet compression is soothing it out. Who knows? But I'll tell that to my daughters when I read to them tonight. Hey, the internet said I have a nice voice, so listen to your stories, 'cause I could do this for a living. That's what the internet says. They won't care. So, what were we talking about? Oh, scales. So, common thing with environment art and kind of design stuff is that you want to create a variety of scales. So we have one large scale thing. We have a bunch of these kind of medium scale things. But what's lacking here is there's no small scale stuff, which makes all this stuff feel a little, I mean, it seems obvious. It's just plopped down on the ground, which is exactly what it is. It's just stuff plopped on the ground. But without that kind of smaller stuff to ground it, I mean, we have this stuff, but it's like kind of micro scale. So we want some small scale stuff to kind of help settle it in. So I'm just going to use some shrub groups we have. So we just scroll down here. Where are they? Here they are. So yep, that's too big. There we go. We got these little ones. Alright, so these shrubs don't have collision. So it doesn't really matter where we place them, because you're not going to get stuck on them. So I can just plop these guys in here, and I can create, I can put some smaller shapes in here that help kind of settle this in a little more. And, if I were being really picky about it, which, the stereotype of the kind of prima donna artist can sometimes be true. Sometimes I'll obsess over this stuff a little too much. But this should suffice. Like I said, especially because this is a road, right? Most of you are going to be cruising through here in a tank, trying to kill something. So, this should do. Lockjaw, will you tell us a story? I don't have any good stories. I've been telling you lots of stories about all our great coworkers and friends and designers. All the things I learned from them. Right? Yeah. Arteikos is asking, how long does it take you to fully model and texture any given example of the assets you are working with right now? It depends. Usually the easiest way to say it is like the smaller stuff goes quicker. So like all of these plants here, I wonder if I can load up this texture. Let's see. I'm not sure what they have installed on this machine, because I can show you some of the guts of this. Let's see. But we use a special image format. So it's called DDS. I don't know what it stands for. I think NVIDIA made it. Let's see. I don't think I'm gonna open it. No. Well, I can show you the texture, but I don't have it. So, anyway, this flora, right? This is just a little card with some textures. But if you picture each of these being like a picture of just this leaf and a picture of just one of these flowers, I have a whole little sheet that has all of them laid out. So that whole sheet took 3 days to build, and that's, what you see here is maybe a quarter of what's on that sheet. The rest of it is elsewhere in Hossin. So this small stuff took, 3 days tops to do. It's different for each person. Some artists are really good at making trees, so they do this quicker than I could. This asset here probably took, 2 days to make. It's hard to remember because most of these assets we built a while ago, and this one was like repurposed. So I'm not really sure how long it took, to completely do it from scratch. I know, this tree, this big tree in the background, probably took about a week for one person to do, maybe. Right, and that's just this tree, with all the little roots and then these branches. This is new to Hossin. We did these branches separately, so we can only have one branch asset and then build a few different trees out of it. And the idea is that when you're down here, you're not rendering that branch, so we hope it's going to make things a little faster. We need to take some time and see if our ideas actually worked out the way we thought they would. Sometimes that happens. You have an idea that you think is going to be great, and it doesn't do anything, and it was just, oh, that didn't work. Let's try something else. So I hope that answer your question about how long it takes. Generally, the worst environment asset takes a weekish, maybe, to do a little more. Question someone earlier asked about whether or not once CPUs get better or something. It's complicated, but yeah, it's usually a performance issue. With our games, there's also server issues that I'm not totally familiar with, but usually those are the reasons we don't do something, because it ruins frame rate, or it destroys the server, stuff like that. Oh, Klaus showed the branch system off last week. I did not know that. Can you put on the trees different branches with glowing color stuff? Yes, we could. We did not. The reason is that, you know, if you look at this screen right here, again, remember I have like the boring, I call it the department store lighting, where everything's just flat and gray, so you can see everything. If every single one of these trees glowed, it wouldn't be impactful. You would just see this giant mass of glowing stuff. So it's better to use it in small pockets like we've done here, so that, you know, I can, yeah, that turned out pretty good. So that they kind of catch your eye and it makes them feel, you know, a little more special. If all of this was with little blue glowing thingies, that would get pretty rough on you as a viewer. Like your eyes would just be, they'd get fatigued and they'd ignore it. What we have done that's new in Hossin, we did add a little splashes of color. So if I zoom in on this leaf right here, you can see a little bit of white and purple on these. So yeah, we did a little bit, but you can see, even just looking at this, you can see all this white. But since it's not glowing, it's, you know, it's pretty subtle. But yeah, if we did it everywhere, it would get crazy. Using that idea, you could also add the occasional glowing air plant inside a tree. Yes, we could do that. Let's see. Oh, was this inside my square? Yeah, I could definitely add a little dude here. I don't think it'll look good though, because it'll kind of, I'll show you why. Sometimes, you know, this is like, sometimes some of this stuff can be subjective. So just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not a good idea. So if I stick that there, yeah, I'm not fond of it. I think it kind of breaks this kind of silhouette a little. This has this nice kind of graceful lean to it. And sticking this like crust of stuff on here feels a little tacked on, I guess, for lack of a better word. But, you know, that's just my opinion. For most of these trees, we have done stuff like that where we can. Where we have these little mushroom caps. So, you know, that, to me at least, feels a little more natural. Usually what I'm finding that I've been enjoying is taking these regional objects we made. Right, so I have this blue bulb group, and I'll stick them like underneath the tree. I think that gives you something that's a little more impactful. And that one's a little big. There's a small one. There it is. You know, that, if we switch to the lighting, the nighttime lighting, so we can kind of see them at their maximum effect, I think that's a little more interesting. You get this, you know, this dark hollow has this cool blue thing, and there's some parallax, so, you know, this guy's gonna get in his way and it's gonna come in and out of your view. I find that a little more interesting than just sticking them off the side here. Devin, show the red plants for the plateau. Yeah, I should probably do that next. Let's go do that. Oh, we're almost out of time. Alright, so we're going to do the last bit of plants. So that's way up here. Let's do it right here. While we're waiting, let's read what we got. And a green bowler hat with a shamrock. I don't know what that's about. You know, I tried to wear a hat once. I'm not a hat guy, but ironically, my wife, I kind of agree with her. For some reason, cowboy hats look good on me. I think that's the weirdest thing, because I'm not very cowboyish. But I guess I'm cursed with having a cowboy-friendly head. Who knows? Alright, so first thing I notice in here is this stuff's floating, so we gotta fix this really quick. So our stream goes until 5, which is in about 15 minutes. So we're gonna bust through the last regional object that we've added, which are some red things, also made by our pal Chris Bishop. did a good job of taking all these and up-resing, or improving them, upgrading them, and not making them more expensive to render. So let's see, we gotta check this out so we save our work, which is important, because otherwise I have to do this all again, which I don't want to do. Here we go. Is this gonna save? Yep. Alright. So our last object is a red object, and it is designed. We kind of had we all really enjoyed playing Last of Us, and their zombies are based on a breed of fungus called a cordyceps. So after I was playing it, I was looking at those cordyceps, and they have this neat kind of shape to them. So we had this, they kind of were sticking in my head for a long time. Like, oh, that'd be cool. Uh-oh. Alright, I'm gonna have to shut this down, because those didn't sync yet. So we're gonna shut our terrain editor really quick and just reopen it, because while I was doing all this stuff was downloading in the background. So this should work now. Sometimes the blah blah blah. So apologies. While this is loading, what do we got here? For your next stream, wear a Stetson. What's a Stetson? Is that a hat? I don't know what that is. Yeah, so cordyceps, same fungus used, but it was, it's one of those things where, you see, I was playing the game and I was looking at the pictures and I was looking at what inspired them. So then I was, I had those pictures of like little things growing out of ants and beetles and stuff, and it had a neat structure to it. So it was one of those things that just kind of stick in your head. Oh man, yeah, these aren't loading. Well, we can't show these. We're having technical difficulties. Shoot. But anyway, it was one of those things that you stick in your head, the reference of it. You're like thinking about them, and you're just always looking for a way to, implement it in something you're working on. So sometimes I'll see, I don't know, a cool plant on the freeway as I'm driving home, and it just sits in my head, and I think one day I'm gonna need a new plant. I'm gonna have to remember that shape or the colors of the vines or something. So unfortunately I can't show you the last plant thing, which is a bummer. But I can show you what they started out as. We'll do that at least, just so none of this was futile. We called them, where are they? Trees? Roots. So we basically took these roots, or I should say Chris took these roots. I didn't do it. We have them built so that you can kind of swap them either way, so you get 2 assets for the price of 1. And what he did was it's hard to like do. You just have to trace my mouse, right? So we kind of extended these these red fingers out of these, and they glow, and they kind of have this tendrily, upwardly reaching kind of shape to them, and they're pretty tall. So like these are already taller than you, and then those tendrils extend good half the distance here, so probably all the way up here, and they create this kind of delicate, spidery kind of silhouette, so that it makes it look different. So that was an important thing about the 3 objects that we were working on. Not only are they different in color, but they are different in silhouette. So you can see, let's turn the shadows off, we can see these a little better. These guys are short and stout, kind of egg-shaped. The thing I had in my mind, there's a way to cut a gemstone called like a cabochon, something like that. They look like NyQuil tablets, NyQuil gel caps. So that was the idea, like that shape, that kind of smooth sense to them. So they have that kind of small, stout silhouette. This thing's kind of fingery, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. It's got these little nodules on them. And then this one's going to be a lot longer and elegant and thinner. So even if these weren't colored differently, you know, that silhouette difference would make a big difference. And then adding the, you know, the 3 different colors just really kind of pushes that even more. So, you know, you got to change. The more you can change both of those, color and silhouette, the more impactful the differences could be. So, what do we got? Can you show a player model for scale? Yeah, I can do that. Let's put these guys back in. So, this button here lets us walk on the ground at player's perspective. And as you use this tool more, you just kind of get an understanding of everybody's scale. But absolutely, for you guys being, you know, maybe the first time you've seen this, it can be a little, you know, you have no idea how big something is. So we have these little dudes here for play reference. These dudes. We have purple ones of these dudes. So I can't add purple glowies, but I can put purple dudes. But I'm at to delete them when we're done, so don't get too attached. So let's go to like Hossin noon. Right, so now you can see kind of the scale of how this stuff is. So they're pretty big. Most of our objects we like to keep, you know, probably at least bigger than your waist. Because if it's smaller than your waist, it's not really doing you any favors. It's not helping you hide from a tank. It's not helping you, you know, duck behind so you can heal yourself or drop a med pack or whatever. So we try to make sure that when we take the time to put an asset in there, that oh, red ones. I forgot the red ones. Yeah, there we go. We even have green ones, even though we don't have a green faction. We just have green ones. Yeah, we'll make the green one really big. I don't know why. It's fun. Yeah, so our assets, we tend to keep kind of a minimum size, so that, because every asset we add is a resource that the game's using. Like, it's using textures, it's using polygons, the server has to calculate its collisions. We have to make sure that it's something that's useful to you as you're playing the game. Because otherwise, you know, if this thing was this big, no one cares about that. This should just be, at this point, this would be much better as a big crate. That's what this stuff is for. This is the little itty bitty stuff that doesn't do anything, but just makes it look good, and it doesn't matter if it's on or off. CD5696 says you should keep one of these player models hidden somewhere. Quite frequently, we forget to take these out, and our excellent QA team finds them and sends us like, hey, you guys missed a green guy. Or we, you know, they slip through everybody's fingers, and then the players find a bug about it. They, you know, oh, there's this dude hiding inside a tree somewhere in Indoor. So, yeah, we don't leave them around for Easter eggs. They would, you know, that's no good. The last Easter egg we have was the BFR, which I guess someone in chat said was taken out. I did not know it was removed. That's kind of a bummer. You know what we used to have? Let's see if we still have this. I think in one of our other games, Free Realms, we had this little talking squirrel. He was a squirrel. He was a the flying squirrel, like a glider or something. And we went and loaded up the Free Realms model. His name was Chatty. And we exported him to PlanetSide, then we would just stick him someplace at random. This was a long time ago, like when PlanetSide 2 was just being started. So, you know, the game wasn't live, so we could just leave silly stuff in the game and not like get called out about it on Reddit or whatever. So, yeah, we had a little silly chatty guy that we would stick around sometimes just to taunt each other. But yeah, I think we removed it. The reason we remove those things is that even if it's not something that you guys see, like a chatty model, your client downloads it because it's in our little depot of assets. So we were like, yeah, you guys don't need to download 3 megs of textures that we just use for an inside joke. So that's why Chatty's not in our branches anymore. Our branch, that's what we call our versions of the game that we're running here. This is the world branch. So we're about wrapping up. I guess I'm just gonna look over here for questions. So shout out, last minute questions. How would Hossin look if he froze all the water and covered in snow? It would look like Esamir. We already did that. And it looks good. Also, why was BFR removed? I don't know why it was removed. Probably for similar reasons. It was probably, as funny as it was, maybe it was too expensive, too many megabytes to download or something. I don't know. Cirrus. Uh-oh. Did you guys see Cirrus? Really? Oh, look at that. I don't know. Let's see what's in here. This stuff is probably all like, okay, that's a big rock. So this is what a lot of our assets start out as. Let me get up off the ground here. You know, this thing is terribly textured, very basic model. It's mostly so that we can get all the objects and the forms in there, and then we can later, you know, fix them up and make them look nice. Sometimes these are just clones of existing assets. Like I think these are the Amrish mountain spires. So, oh yeah, the lava. The lava's cool. Who said that? Show the lava. I don't know. Someone gonna get tackled off. We'll see. Yeah, the lava's really cool. The coder Ryan Favale, boom. He did this awesome lava shader. That yeah, that's a good one. Wait, that one's all yucky. Oh, now I can't select it. Alright, and there's lava on Hostin now. Done. Yeah, see we have these planes of objects. So, let me find one that's... Yeah, that'll work. Alright, so it glows and it like scrolls and stuff. And, you know, if I set this to like nighttime, it gets all like crazy. Right, that's cool. So I think Ryan actually did all these textures. See, so he is truly a Renaissance man. A coder that can make awesome textures. So, yeah, it kind of bummed us out that he made this awesome shader that we haven't used. So actually in Hossin, we're going to use this shader to build like a glowing green pit of, I don't know, vomit acid or something. I think Trammell called it the snot pit. No, what did he call it? Nuclear snot, something like that. So, we're definitely going to use this shader. Obviously, we're not going to use it as lava, but the, you know, we're definitely going to find a use for it. Since it's in there, you know, we might as well start using it. Hossin's a great chance for us to do something cool like that. So, yeah, say goodbye to the lava. I'm not going to see you for a while, buddy, but we'll make cousins out of you. We'll make some cool nuclear snot. Nuclear snot, there we go. That's the new thing, right? You guys are all going to go post that on Trammell's Twitter and beg for it, for nuclear snot. Oh, look at you guys. See, you got the names in here? I should probably hide this. Oh well, too late. It's on the internet. It's there forever. So I will say, you know, all of this was made a while ago. Actually, the cave that was done in Amrish came out of some experiments we did on Cirrus a while ago. So Cirrus is basically still in very early planning. All the assets you see here, they might get deleted. We might change our minds. So please take what you see here with a grain of salt. See, look, Cirrus cactus. There we go. See, totally untextured. We're just kind of work on shapes and styles. See if we like it. You know, see if this asset is worth progressing, making something cool with. What's a thermal vine? I don't know what a thermal vine is. Is that in here? See, I didn't make... Oh, thermal vents. I didn't make any of these assets, so they're new to me too. Alright, enough of the Cirrus tour. That's useless. We're here to talk about Hossin. Poor Hossin. You know, spent so much time. Everyone wants to see Cirrus. You're like the wallflower, or the, you know, stuck on the edge. No one wants to see the shiny lava. Not this awesome brown mud. Come on. Brown mud. Okay. Pay. What else we got? With the Krusty Krab. April Fools, can you replace the warp gates with the Krusty Krab? No. Nickelodeon would probably sue us. Alright, is that Nickelodeon? Right? That's SpongeBob. We're on Hossin Deganenatron. Oh, here we go. Here's a good question that we get a lot. What advice do you have soon-to-be game development graduates looking to obtain positions as environment artists? I think the skills that I use the most as an environment artist are observational. Like, you look around you and see how the terrain, the ground and stuff flows together, you know, how dirt and grass mix together in real life, what kind of colors you see on plants, how plants are built, like in a kind of basic structural sense, how they tend to group next to each other. Like, you'll see, you know, plants and dirt kind of follow water patterns, so wherever water will pool, that's where you'll see more flowers in the spring, that kind of stuff. You know, subtle stuff like that. That's what I find really valuable in environment art. And Termel Isaac, oh, has he been here the whole time? That's the first time I saw him. I like dirt and green mixing. That's true. Everyone, we talk about dirt. Artekos, yes, I have an online portfolio. If you just search my name, you can find it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time plugging it, because we're here to talk about all of our work as a team, not my stuff. Oh, look, here's some new flowers. We didn't have these guys earlier, because this is the central. So these were, like we were talking about observation. Like, I have some bromeliads, which is a type of flower, right? We can search for Google, right? Bromeliad. Right? So I have some of these at home, and I liked the way, see, before they flower, they get these neat little things. So I liked that shape, so I was thinking about it, and I was really paying attention to how the pieces fit together. So I tried to do that with this flower here. I don't want to copy it directly, but it was just something that inspired me. But, you know, that's, you know, you're walking through the garden and, you know, you see something, you think about how it's built, how you would build it. You see, like, there's little yellows next to this purple. It's not just all straight purple. Down here, the leaves are greener. So just little subtleties like that. That's what I like. And fun fact, pineapples are a member of the bromeliad family. I learned that while I was researching that. So anyway, I'm about wrapping up. So I hope you enjoyed the tour of Hossin and the little insights into why we have the assets we do and how we use them, and, you know, how our team works together and all that. Your mom. Funny. So yeah, it's been fun. I'm supposed to... Wait, I have a cheat sheet here. Wait, can you see it? Yeah. See, Maggie made me a cheat sheet so that I know what buttons to push next. So with that, it says I'm supposed to play the outro now. So thanks for watching, everybody. Just tune in next week, and you can see some more stuff going on in Hossin. It's been a blast. Bye.